Hi everybody, it's me. I'm home now and I'm about to broadcast the next edition of CoVideos. Today I'd like to address a few things, one of the things being fever. A lot of people are asking me about where things are going, and I'll have a chance to answer a question too. First of all, where are things going? I see this is having an end. And you can see from the slide that I'm showing right now that there is, when you plot out, my students have been working on plotting these things out. When you plot out Washington versus New York, you can see New York is definitely still on the upswing, and we'll see as time goes on, and that Washington seems to be taking a different trajectory. I think that that Washington, the first case was January 22nd. It's important to note the dates of when the first case was, so that can help us. That's about 2 months ago, and help us make predictions. On the right-hand side of this slide, you can see the total number of cases in China. For the last 2 days, there have been no new cases in China, which is a great thing. On the next slide, you can see that there is the total cases in the United States versus the total cases in Italy. Please bear in mind that these are different scales. That's a very important thing. There's a different scale there between the two, and so it looks a bit worse for us. We're in a kind of an ever-accelerating time when, because we're just getting testing going online and getting testing going, and that's an important thing. And then I'll do just 2 more pieces of data here with respect to how the whole thing is progressing. You can see South Korea, which is definitely in the flattening out part. That flattening, that plateau in that curve is a good thing. And then the United Kingdom is another example of where we're just getting started. All right, on the next slide, I was reminded of a quote from Dr. Peter Slavin from Mass General. He's the CEO at Mass General, and he was telling people that let's just call it physical distance, not social distance. And that's a great reminder. There are people out there who are suffering in a lot of ways. One of the ways that people are suffering is in the fact that they need social contact. People need it. They become depressed if they're not. You all have, by the way, these wonderful devices here called phones, and you can communicate with people in a moment. So your homework assignment after this video is over is call somebody and remind them that you're there and you're thinking about them. And I think that's a great idea, and you can even maybe do a FaceTime or one of the other programs that allows you to do a video. By the way, beautiful day today. That's why I'm outside right now. My wife and I went for a walk. That's my wife Julie and myself. We went for a walk today, and maintaining social distance all the way, and it really felt good to take a walk today. Last thing I want to talk about here before I get to a question is fever. And there have been a lot of debate on the media, in the press, and in the medical journals about using ibuprofen versus Tylenol. I think at this point the safest thing is to talk about Tylenol. But I want to say something about fever in general. Fever is a great thing. Fever does some wonderful things for your body. One of the things that it does is it limits the replication of organisms. It induces stress immune functions. It facilitates the action of interferon. Interferon is a natural virus fighter that you have in every single cell of your body, and fever can actually help that. It will disrupt bacterial metabolism, although that's not a consideration here. And one of the most important things that fever does for you is it's a sign of infection. Too much fever is a bad thing. You don't want to, too much fever is a bad thing. I'm not saying never treat a fever, but you might want to wait. And I think you might want to start with Tylenol just because of the abundance of caution. But again, that data is not really clear about which is better. It is not clear at all about which is better, Tylenol or ibuprofen, those studies. And likewise, I am not convinced about the anti-malarial. I said that yesterday. The anti-malarial drugs, I don't find to be very convincing, the evidence for them. I think that's an in vitro experiment, and as I mentioned yesterday, in vitro experiments can sometimes go very wrong when you actually get it into people. My hope is on vaccines. I'm a big vaccinating person. I believe in vaccines. My shirt says vaccines cause adults, so I'm all in on that. Let me answer a question here, and the question is about our response to COVID-19 has been much more severe rather than H1N1. I think we did a good job with H1N1. Eventually, we got through the H1N1, and it was very serious. One of the things I've been telling people all along is you can't say that one disease is more important than the other. Flu is very important. When this is all over, I'm going to say it again, flu is a very important thing. And there were 12,000 deaths in the United States. Let me just go up here and show you. This is the paper. The next slide shows you the paper that actually sums up all the cases. There were 12,000 deaths, a little bit about 12,000 deaths, and then eventually we solved that problem with a vaccine that was a lifesaver. And so I still hold out my hopes for a vaccine for COVID. I think that's our best bet. Let me see. Last thing I want to say, and also that some things, there was only 3 countries really affected by H1N1, and that of course was the United States and Canada and Mexico were the three countries affected, and it's devastating for a loss of life for anything. I think we need to work on a better system for vaccinating against flu. So I share the questioner's enthusiasm for that. And finally, to finish that answer, should we have been more proactive? And it does appear that COVID-19 is going to be more severe than the 12,000 deaths that we lost worldwide. We're up to 10,000 right now. At this point, there are more deaths outside of China than there is inside of China. There is more cases outside of China than there is inside of China. It has definitely become an everywhere but China issue. And so, I think that when this is all done, we need to think better about more vaccines. And as I mentioned before, long-term vaccinations. A 10-year flu vaccine would save many, many lives every year. All right. Last thing I want to mention is I've seen wonderful stories out there about people helping and the helpers. I want to address not the helpers today, because there are people out there who are doing wonderful, wonderful things. What I do want to address is the people who need to be helped. You people, the people who need to be helped, I think it behooves you to accept help. There are people out there, I'm not going to cite anybody, but there are people, I've seen it on Facebook, where they're saying, I can help you. Give me your Venmo number. I don't want to broadcast that, because obviously there's some people who will abuse that information, but reach out. If you need help, reach out. There are people who are out there, they want to help you and do all kinds of things. By the way, as far as medications, I do believe in one medication that is going to be useful. It is called Haagen-Dazs. I think it's a Dutch product, and it is a wonderful product. Have some ice cream. I'm a firm believer of ice cream, and I heard a story about how they were having a special sale at Mitchell's, which is a proud sponsor of the Microprof Learning Network, and you can get some ice cream. It'll make you feel better. Not me. I'm still trying to flatten the curve. That's all for today. This is a little bit different, and but thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.